and they went for overpass. So that's the one. That's probably the scariest thing when talking about complexity. I think that's the biggest thing that you have to talk about. That there was a big opportunity for CLG to pick so many other maps, and they went here.
Yeah, so I think we'll be heading into the pistol round now, if I believe. And, well, it's going to be looking like CLG trying to test the waters by sending all 4 through connector, having of course, Kusta over towards Park, trying to go on the lurk roll here. Sorry, not Kusta, that's going to be hazed over towards Park. Rendezvous with the rest of his team in towards mid. Def trying to spot this one out, isn't going to be able to find anything just yet. Surreal, meanwhile, in towards the Exciter player that James said he was, not James, Dan. How did I just do that?
What have you
my
done?
God, he's going to hit me. But a player that Dan said he was keen on keeping an eye on, does pick up 2 frags, but the bomb's going to go down anyway. Kusta finds one out on a Def, puts it back into a 3-on-4. And now Surreal coming back in, picks up a 3K now, so it is all on Cutler here, 1 versus 4. He does have a Glock, bombs flying in as well, just trying to play for time. Now it lands a nice flick out onto Android. He's still got 3 members of Complexity left to try and find.
Yeah, and the bomb already being defused, the kit on it. This is going to make things nigh and impossible. Has to go, and well, 8 is going to finish him off. So, in the end, a nice start for Complexity. Surreal really hitting his shots to warm himself up at the very beginning of the game. Of course, CLG, they still get the bomb down, so although it's not the perfect round, they still get themselves something to play with and the potential to actually go for a 3rd round bye.
Yeah, no, definitely, Sabi. That bomb plant is going to play into this later on, I'm sure. And one side of Complexity, they know that CLG are going to be back onto just a full eco here, buying up in the 3rd round, so you can see a lot of SMGs on the CT side. Surreal's going to open things up once again, being a key player. Finds one in mid, going to be looking for the 2nd as well, but might get taken down here with his over-aggression as Hayes does find him. HW with one of his own. Puts it back into a 2-on-4 as he finds 2 frags in towards mid. The rest of the guys in from B now rotating up, just trying to circle around CLG like a moth to a flame, and well, it all fell on Akusta, 1 versus 4, and he just couldn't land the shots with the P250.
Yeah, importantly, they retrieved the rifle as well, because if they'd lost that, then you have to talk about the idea that they only buy 2, they lose 1. That would have been horrific, and you can see they're playing this one very, very safe. Yes, they'll keep 1 UMP in play, but other than that, everybody else is upgraded, so it means that the money they've made hasn't really made too much of an impact on growing their economy, and leaves them in a position where the Ts can still quite easily reset them. Now, Surreal, he will go for an aggressive push. Already started the game quite nicely, but looking to do a little bit more, and you can see a fairly passive hold at the moment for CLG. They will be able to get long control, but haven't gone aggressive at all into middle and holding very far back towards the connection point as well.
Yeah, currently it's looking like CLG trying to test the waters out towards long. They send 3 players here early on, as well as keeping Sub Rosa heading in through the lower tunnels through connector, trying to open things up in towards B. There are only 3 players over Complexity ready and waiting for that in the form of Uber, who's just sitting there biding his time, and he's going to be in a great position to potentially try and make something happen here, as it does look like Sub Rosa is now making his way up connector. Grabbing control of that, of course, allows fast rotates between the A and B site, respectively. And looking ahead out into towards mid. Surreal's going to be here, does find the first on the back of a nice pop flash from his teammate in this site. It's going to open things up, and CLG, they do push aggressively to try and get that return frag in. Surreal, though, looking like he was going to go passive. Instead, going to meet the aggression with more aggression of his own. Playing up close and personal to this smoke as the flashes and smokes rain on through. They're not going to be ready for him to be in this position. Goes for the spray. He's able to find one flag out into Ethan. And it's going to be all hazed to pick up the next 2 to put it back into a 3-on-3.
Yeah, Hayes bringing things back for them there. That really could have been a bit problematic. Uber very quick on the rotation, though, and will be able to catch them from behind. And this is going to deny the plant. This is a big problem at the moment. Hayes is left to now try and ace is completely surrounded. And eventually, Def will finish him off, pick up a rifle as well. And well, that's a nice round coming out from Complexity, breaking that early buy and sending CLG back down to just some pistols.
Yeah, I mean, it was looking like he could have gone okay for CLG there after the frags that Hayes got on his way out to the site, but then sadly they just couldn't replicate that success and try to take that round away. As a result, we do see Complexity picking up a 3rd and completely ruining the economy of CLG.
Yeah, they got surrounded as well. That was the big problem. Uber was so quick on the rotation that they didn't really get a chance to plant the bomb and fall back to the after plants. That's what everybody wants to do in that scenario. They plant it, they fall back, and they can just hold it from either long or all the way back sort of towards the toilet's position. Instead, they get isolated in both avenues, and because they don't take anybody down in the meantime, they just lose all control of the round, and eventually it's down to just Hayes left alone. Either way, Pistols looking to do a little bit of damage in this round so far. Not so good. Surreal is going to be farming up that extra cash, ready for the AWP, and well, so far so good. Already grabbing himself 2 kills, $1,200, and leaving Hayes with the Sieg to try and make some cash, or make a kill at least, and he does neither.
Yeah, a good bit of play coming out from Surreal right now, who I think has currently been the star player for Complexity somewhat. 8-2 right now, top of the leaderboard, and of course, from the 2 frags over to find on the back of the MP9, the $1,200 kill bonus he gets, he's able to buy up the AWP as well. So it's going to be interesting to see what that brings to the board. CLG, meanwhile, going to try and answer back. They buy up 5 rifles this time, and are going to be fairly heavy on the utility as well, as it looks like B is going to be the site in question. That flash is going to allow Uber to cross, and now CLG actually changed their mind, sent 3 players over towards A long. They leave Hayes behind to play the lurk roll in towards B, and then they send Sabrosa in through connector once again. It's a similar setup. We've seen them do this on their last buy round, and they're going to try and find success with it this time. But Surreal, they're going to try and open things up for Complexity out towards long.
Yeah, so far hasn't been able to spot too much. He is alone, but looking to find that first peek. Now, coL has the bomb, so he won't be peeking this anytime soon. Wouldn't be a smart decision to make to even risk giving that AWP the bomb. That would be a level of insanity. Of course, they don't really know it's there just yet. They could assume that the CT side haven't forced too much into this. Hayes is going to take a little bit of a position towards short. Won't be able to spot anybody out as they're both much further across. And this does leave them a little bit open, but at the same time, it gives them good support between Monster and short. And with Def already waiting for a quick rotation from the Heaven position, it seems like their setup is relatively good. The only problem is he's the one player that can actually fall, and Hayes is given a bit too much room and able to make that first pick. Looking for a second, and actually it's going to be 2 quick trades coming out from the CTs, with Ethan doing the same, leaving it to a 3v3 once again. And while Surreal, he's got some work to do.
Yep, Surreal's going to find himself in a 1 versus 3 up on the site. Android rotating on through, though. It's going to be in a great place to try and help out. Uber, a little bit late to the party, does finally rendezvous with the rest of Complexity, and they're all going to be coming in from bank or stairs. The thing is, CLG, they've already fallen back, and they're playing this very passively in towards toilets. And bomb, of course, is going to be planted for that angle, so it leaves them in a very good place to try and hold on to this. You've got 2 kits and a little bit of utility on the side of Complexity. They can use that smoke to potentially smoke the defuse, and that's what Uber's going to be doing. There we go, it's going to be the defuse coming on through. Can they hold it down? Uber is going to be trying to do it, just hold it down, that defuse, and oh, he just does it in time. And there we go, he's going to get taken down at the end by Cutler, but he finds the round, perhaps, you know, more importantly there. So it's going to go 5-0 as Complexity starting things off very strongly on the CT side.
Yeah, they lose everybody, so it will be costly for them, but at the same time, they had so much economy built up over the last few rounds that it's not too much of a problem. Now, in terms of the Ts, they make themselves some money as well. They get 3 players surviving bomb down, so of course, no problem with loss bonus. But the unfortunate factor is they still haven't got themselves a round on the board. Now, this is a nice push remover. Only manages 1, and actually the trades come out, and it comes out with the Ts ending up in a pretty good standpoint. In fact, it looked like that was going to go all the way of Complexity, but now CLG with a great opportunity. The rotation will be coming in, and they've thrown in some counter nades to try and slow down an opportunity for the plant, but it's not going to happen. Def is going to try and push back in, and he's the main avenue of attack. They line up, and he still only gets 1. Kusta with the AWP and the remaining 2 players, both looking to try and get back into the site.
Yeah, it's all going to fall into Surreal. He does have the AWP. He's committed to this play. So now he has to try and go for it. He's made his bed. Now he has to sleep in it. As he makes his way on through, Molotov is somewhat going to miss it. Mark goes for the peak, but Hayes and Kusta had the crossfire set up nicely. They find that frag, and they find the first round on the board for CLG.
Yeah, strong start from Hayes. There has to be said, he's the one player that in the last couple of buy rounds has actually been making quite a big impact. Of course, the AWP shot from Kusta pretty much ended the round from that point onwards, and well, there is Hayes once again to finish things off. And well, that's it. You lose all your players in 1 round, you then lose the next round. You're struggling a little bit, and Complexity, well, now they're going to have to try and fight this one back with pistols. They did have a little bit of extra cash, so you can see they will get themselves a CZ and a Scout, both with Kevlar behind them. And other than that, it is just the straight 5.7s, a couple of flashbangs, so maybe a little bit of a pop flash that will give them an avenue of attack. And well, Kusta, he's about to challenge the Scout. Is peeking out, not really taking too aggressive an angle. Can just go for the jump shots, of course, because that's logical, but it doesn't matter. Def is going to be taken down early on, and Oh, the remaining players are still just trying to push out of toilets to challenge Kuster. If they can get close, oh, they've actually avoided the scope. He needs to flick back. We'll eventually get this, but there isn't much support from him. Luckily, he's connecting every single shot that's given to him and leaving just Uber left.
Yeah, he's going to find a third out towards long, and now it's all in the hands of Uber. 1 versus 5. He's got a lot left to find, and, well, hardly the most ideal buy to try and make it happen with. Sabrosa is going to be playing down here in towards the short area, just waiting. The arms of CLG very much open and ready to clasp around Uber if he decides to go aggressively around this corner. It looks like they're going to be making their way towards B. He's in a great place to try and find one frag. At least does take down one, but Hazed in from behind manages to take his head off of his body, which is, may I say, probably one of the better ways of taking someone down. It's going to go 5-2 as Complexity, now they're only at a 3-round advantage. So CLG have got the last 2 rounds in a row.
Yeah, more importantly, they've done it on the T side as well. So get themselves rolling a little bit, build up some money. Of course, they keep that one relatively clean, only losing 1 player. And, well, now the CTs have a buyback on the board. They don't opt to drop an AWP, which was an option. They had the spare money to actually do so, but instead spend all of that cash onto utility. So clearly seeing that as the more important avenue at the moment. On the A site, there is a little bit of a boost, and they are taking quite a bit of map control over towards water. The only problem is the Ts haven't really gone anywhere near the site yet. They're just playing very passively, checking all their angles, making sure there's nobody aggressive. But at the moment, all that push is really doing is saying, okay, they're not here, but where are they?
Yeah, no, I mean, with how they are playing Complexity right now, sorry, with how Complexity are playing, how do my words just get that mixed up? You know, they're going somewhat aggressive in towards B, which I am a fan of because it does whittle down the options as to where CLG could be. You can already see now you've got 2 players up on towards A, looking to play a little bit passively. The information that potentially Uber can get from his location could you know, warrant some early rotates in towards the A site. CLG right now, they're looking a little bit curious as they send 2 players over towards long. They leave Bomb back in mid, and, well, Sabrosa, who's become very, very accustomed to being in the connector area, just being this tunnel lurker, is going to be trying to make his way out in towards short potentially, as he does have connected down once again. He's been, like I say, he's been playing this almost every single round. He's been doing it brilliantly. Hasn't once foregone the controller connector. Maybe that's because Complexity aren't playing it, but who knows? Yeah,
that's always a nice helpful factor. Either way, Hazed is going to be pushing individually at the moment. There's a couple of players there, and he will grab the first kill once again. And the second. Big round already from Hazed. He opens things up on B, and while the rest of the players, it's all going to be down to Ape. He's the only one here, but he's in behind. This is perfect. He can actually do a lot of damage. The bomb needs to go down. There's only seconds left to spare, but unfortunately, Android, he's nowhere near the action to stop it. It will quickly be traded out, but a little bit of madness coming in. A moment where Ape could have changed the round for the better. Instead, it's not going to happen. Android has to save, and he will do just that.
Yeah, he does grab an AK for his troubles, and he's got 2 flashbangs as well that he wants to try and hold on to. Can't say I blame him, as this is, what, something like a... Oh, God, he didn't have that armor. Now I've made this really horrible for myself to do on the fly. What, he has like $3,750 worth of investment, so $3,950 if you include the USP. So I was right, maths on the fly right there, because I just realized I could
just going to assume you're right. I'm not really going to... Oh, yeah, of course.
Android trying to hold on to this AK, does spot out one of these players in the former color, takes him down, and not going to be ready to relinquish the AK just yet. So finds 2 frags at the end of the round, and most importantly, can hold on to the AK into the next.
Yeah, and well, here we go again. Hazed. Big start for him. That was a nice couple of entry frags, and it was all down to a fake. There was, as said, a moment where Ape could have traded things back, but once again, it's Complexity struggling with their economy. The nice start that they had seems to have faded away a little bit. They do have one avenue of attack, or one big avenue, in the form of Android, who can look to try and make a play. He did go aggressive initially towards the short position to try and find someone over towards mid or party, but it hasn't really come about just yet. We'll continue to go looking, and well, this is a good opportunity for him to be punished. He finds the first, though, and that's a decent start. As said, they've got the CZ, they've got the potential to even pick up these weapons if they can get anywhere near them. The only problem is where the player was dropped, it doesn't leave them with too much of a chance to actually get the weapon.
Yeah, no, that is the one issue, but anyway, how many seen CLG? They have to try and play off the back of being a man down. Despite being up against an eco in Complexity, they do still have the AK and armor up on Android, and Uber as well with the CZ does have a little bit of armor behind him. So it's not a terrible situation for Complexity to be in right now. And as CLG look to make their way in towards this B site, they are walking into a 3-man stack. Little do they know it. Now the Flash is going to be making their way into the site. They've committed to this push now. Hayes going to be trying to find the first, but Ape does take him down. He's going to get traded out by Kuster. Sabrosa as well, chiming in one of his own out into Uber, puts it into a 3-on-3. He's going to be CLG going aggressive in towards the pit, does pick up one on the Surreal, but Android with that AK that he was able to scavenge from the last round, picks up a frag of his own, and Def in from short in a great place to try and find this frag on Akusta. Akusta finds one, now has to do the 180 on the spot, nearly spots out Def, he goes for the jump over the top of the boxes, and Def just lands it with the 5-7. That was such a back and forth round at the end, but Complexity managed to come out on top.
Yeah, and that's a bit of a surprising one, really, because CLG, sort of in the previous rounds, they seem to be doing quite well at actually closing down these players, but, well, Android, he gets himself a couple. Def as well, just using a 5-7, manages to get 2, and that's a problem for CLG now. They've taken a big hit in their own economy and given a boost, in a way, because, of course, the money that was made from the round win is higher than the amount they would have got from the loss bonus, so they get that extra money they were already sort of saving. And now you can see an almost perfect buy coming in for this CT side. They have the AWP, they have rifles across the board, utility, kits, everything that's necessary for them to start things off. However, the Ts are doing pretty well, and a lovely little observer, Smoke Bug, coming in there.
Yep, but they'll be losing the one man off the back of that Uber.
I've done that so many times. I've done that so many times.
Yeah, no, but Uber's going to be the one to fall for the side of Complexity. Yeah, one man advantage now leaning in the way of CLG, and well, they're looking a little bit peckish for this B site. Android going to be the player to try and hold this back, backed up by Def. And they do have Ape as well, who's going to be rotating in through Heaven. So they're kind of stacked in towards this this B site. And well, CLG looking like they want to try and walk right into the stack once again. It didn't work out well for them last time. I doubt it's going to work out well again. The only saving grace is they do have Hazed up in mid. He might be able to get some information as to the fact that it's only Surreal over towards this A site.
He's going to go pushing around and actually just going to rotate back with his team. So out of all the positions, or out all the places that could be pushed now by CLG, this is probably the worst. Android already finding one, doing a lot of damage to the second, but again, not quite managing to finish off that kill already. It will be a quick trade, and again, Hazed on the entry. He's been so good so far. Surreal, well, he'll be there to rotate in, take the Heaven peaks with that AWP, but the big problem they've got is it's now a 4 versus 2. They've got to retake the site and make that a 4 versus 1, as Surreal, yeah, he may get around to that Heaven position, but he's going to be lost.
Yeah, it's going to be Def now, 1 versus 4. Going to be trying to pick up the AWP and potentially try and get it out of there, which is looking like what he's going to do. Does manage to escape with his life thus far, but Hazed pushing up mid aggressively. We'll be able to spot him out, and finds the head as well. So he's going to go down, and the 4th round is going to be on the board now for CLG. 2 rounds the difference between these two teams. And Complexity, well, they had a strong start, but recently CLG have been forging a little bit of a comeback, and are currently in a very good position.
Yeah, no, it's been off the back a lot of Hazed. Kusta has had some moments as well with the AWP, especially towards the latter parts of the round where he's able to clean up a lot of the remaining players. But yeah, Hazed has been going in on entry fragging role and pretty much done the job perfectly. In fact, finding either multiple kills and then going down, or just not going down at all, which is not something that really you go, yeah, you know what, entry fragger, that's what's going to happen. Yeah, he's going to come out reliving a lot of the rounds. That doesn't really make many sense. 7 rounds he's died. Still surviving in the majority, or a lot of them anyway, and well, now you have to look back towards these pistols. Complexity are taking the brunt of this economic damage that has begun. Of course, they're going to try and do some damage with the pistols. We saw them do quite well off the back of 1 rifle and some pistols, so maybe they can get some results out of it, but this time there's no armor, there's no nades, there's nothing to play with, but Ape will still find the first kill of the round.
Yep, that's going to allow Surreal as well to find one onto Cutler, who was caught with his pants around his ankles, looking the wrong way. And now it's going to be a 2-man advantage going the way of Complexity, thanks to the opening frag by the Ape Nation, who was able to start them off with the man advantage, and as a result, they allowed Surreal as well to capitalize on it too. Hazed now going aggressive in towards the B site, trying to equalize out these numbers, finds 1 frag. It's going to be looking for the second as well, does connect a little bit of damage now onto Android, finishes him off through the wall, and well, now it's going to be a 3-on-3. Bomb is planted and ticking away, and Complexity, they're rotating on through to try and do what they can. Question is it going to be enough? Def finds that first onto Subrosa. They don't have a kit to try and play around with, so they have to be quick. Hazed has already got 2 frags. Ethan as well, trying to hold this one down.
Yeah, nice position from Ethan already. Going to be saved as well by his teammate towards the end. And, well, the AWP did give them an avenue to fight with. Unfortunately, it wasn't quite an avenue that actually won them the round. And now, you look at the sort of scoreline, CLG have got themselves back towards 5. And again, you have to sort of talk about Hazed in this sort of saving grace role. Again, gets 3 kills in a round after they lose the first 2. Helps bring it back alongside his teammate Ethan. And well, that was a round that they need to make sure that they win, because they shouldn't be throwing around or throwing away rounds like that.
Yeah, no, definitely not. And well, into this one, CLG looking to try and cement themselves a 6th on the board, potentially, as it is going to be another eco on the cards for Complexity. They have little bit of armor on the back of Surreal, but that's going to be it. Sabrosa finds the first two in towards the connector area. And that's going to start things off just how they wanted to. They get the two-man advantage early on. They get control of connector, and by killing those two players, they have killed the entire A-side forces as well. They're completely unaware of that. But yeah, they did decide to go aggressively into connector early on and get punished for it.
It's quite an interesting buy actually from Complexity, because clearly in this sort of circumstance, they were just saving for nades, because the rest of the team, I think they're around the sort of 3,900 mark, and then you had Surreal with enough to buy an AWP. So it wasn't even that they were waiting for an AWP, they were literally just waiting to get utility on the board. So this is sort of a big gamble for them, because they're giving away another round for free. They're allowing the T side to get some of the economy back that they did eventually lose, well, when the sort of last couple of rounds which were close. But at the same time, this gives a great point that, okay, CLG, they're already on 6. Anything other than this is just going to be much, much better for them. They're going to start building up enough rounds where you're going, okay, they've done way more than was expected of them on the T side. Then they go onto the favored side of the map with already a few players really hitting their shots and starting off nicely. And this could begin to be a problem for Complexity. Of course, if they do make this big buy work, if everything goes nice and dandy, I'll be singing their praises rather than talking about what could be going wrong. He had to, out of all the people to get, he got the guy with the Mac 10. That's just so unfortunate. Like, there's 5 people to kill, he gets the one that doesn't have anything to lose.
Yeah, no, that is just the way of things, though. It's the luck, isn't it? When you're the last guy left. Well, to be fair as well, it makes sense. The one person going for the most aggressive hunt has the gun to farm the most money. But yeah, I mean, it was kind of his destiny from the outset to be only able to get the Mac 10 out of this. I mean, little known fact, it probably is one of the best guns in the game statistically.
Of course.
I'm sure if you actually looked at the statistics on that, I would say that a lot of round wins are with the Mac 10 because they're on the anti-ecos.
But you look at, no, I thought you meant like weapon damage and stuff. I was about to say, if you look at statistics, you could say that the dualies are great, because in terms of like damage and range, they're actually pretty good. But in actual practice, it's
they're
not
the best
same
gun in the game. Yeah, no,
yeah, oh yeah, of course.
It's going to go 6-6 now, as though CLG they're able to equalize things on out. Now it's going to be a rifle buy for the side of Complexity, finally, with the potential to try and get back into this. An AWP on Surreal does mean it's going to be 4 rifles up behind it. And on the side of CLG, once again, similar strategy what we've seen, 4 rifles and an AWP on Kusta.
Yeah, of course, the buy is back in town, and we are waiting to see whether or not this double eco position was actually worth what they've invested into it. Now, we want to watch Hayes. We want to watch his entry fragger roll. Does manage to get one. I thought he was going to whip on both there as he sort of split between the two, but he manages to bring it to a 4v4. Now, we always talk about the idea that this favors the T side because they're able to rotate around. They split the defense a little bit more. You can already see that in terms of how the CT side have tried to react to this, is they got an aggressive peek coming out from Surreal on towards Long to try and make sure that he can actually gather any knowledge that's necessary to force a rotation back of his teammate. And already Ape will make that move. They're going to go for the 2-2 split in terms of their CT defense. Now, in terms of rotations on Overpass, normally the CT side are alright in getting back. The problem is, both of these sites, once you lose them, the afterplant positions are very, very good.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. So that's true for both A and B in this. And while Sabrosa can be trying to play the lurk, Rock gets a bit of information in towards B, finds one onto Android, and look at this. Complexity rotating everyone off of that A site in a little act of desperation. Actually, instead opted to keep Surreal there, and as the smokes making their way in, still with 20 seconds left. I mean, CLG, they need to be doing something.
They timed out.
It's looking like Cutler actually timed out, which is a huge shame.
I think 2 of them have.
Oh, wow. So, wow.
Yeah, 2 of them have timed out, and that has literally screwed them over on the timing as well. They're not even going to have the chance to get the bomb down. That is an absolutely colossal problem for the CLG side, and well, the remaining 2 players have to try. I love how Subrosa is just like, no, I'm winning this round. It just kills his teammate and takes the bottom. But I don't really know what else he could have done there. That is a real unfortunate stance. Of course, the round has already gone into a sort of position where I don't think they can roll that back. So yeah, that's going to be a bit of a problem for CLG, because in terms of that round, you were right. They sort of made that rotation position around. They were forcing them away from the site, and although they did leave 1 player there, everything was set for them to sort of bait and switch. He gets the frag, the rest of the team are ready, and unfortunately, he times out, or 2 of them, I think, time out. I don't know if that's down to... Well, I think they do. Does CLG live in a gaming house? I'm not entirely sure. I know a lot of the NA teams do. I've been told they do, so I'm guessing that's a couple of... That is a bit weird then. for only 2 of the players to time out. Maybe CLG are going to play on their CT side. So you never know, this could end up being T-sided. You see that quite often on very CT-sided maps where there's sort of that basis, but they don't really have the team play or sort of ability to actually hold on to the sites. Then maybe we could actually see a T-sided overpass. At the same time, CLG, they're already on 6 rounds. They're looking to get themselves that 7th, which maybe they should have got in the last. We don't know what would have happened if the internet had remained. Either way, now all we have to do is wait and see what they can do in this one.
Yeah, CLG once again going to be going for a very similar strat to what we saw last time, but Sabrosa going to be back in the connector area. Everyone else making their way out mid. Surreal is going to be over towards the toilets with the AWP in hand, trying to find some early aggression into the hands of CLG. Doesn't manage to spot anything out just yet, and does fall on back to the site to hold it passively. Now this is going to bode well. Does spot out one player along, but coO's actually there with the AWP ready and waiting to pick up that first frag and start to allow CLG to pour into the site.
Counter flash from Ape is good. It does slow them down a little bit and enables him to push back, but he's completely blind himself, having some problems. Won't even manage the first, and that's a quick flurry of frags that comes in for the CLG side. And while Complexity, you have to remember, they did just about hang on to the last round. The problem now, they've got to hang on to their weapons.
Yep, they've got to try and get out of there with the 2 M4s, and well, Cutler's not ready to let him do that just yet. He's going to be trying to come in from behind. Will bite the bullet as Uber does find him. But now they do know where both members of Complexity are, and I mean, when you look at the map, you can see CLG just pouring towards them.
Yeah, they're going to try and get these weapons out of their hands. Of course, they have slowed down a bit, haven't actually taken too much in terms of map control, and of course, I would say going up the ladder is a little bit more of a risk than they should be willing to take. Of course, in the last round, they lose a couple of players. Things get a little bit confusing, so in terms of their money, this will be a bolster, and we should have both teams buying into the last round of the half. Of course, 7 rounds on the T side for CLG is a very good stance to have. Android just about going to survive, but you look, saving the 2 rifles definitely a pinnacle of importance, because that will allow them to drop a couple. They will have 1 player, I think, on the pistol, and Surreal should have a weapon to find.
Yeah, but for the last round of the half, it's going to be a less than ideal buy on the side of Complexity. Surreal,
It's actually going to give it to someone else. So.
Yeah, going to be on that P250 buy, no armor as well. Only relying on the flash and smoke grenade that he does have. Very limited utility on the side of Complexity. CLG, on the other hand, their buy is looking fairly good. Double AWP set up with Hazed taking the other one, coOster as well. Kind of be the standard issue for their side currently. Fairly lackluster utility actually on either side, but CLG looking to try and make their way out long. No one's here to contest this, so it's going to be given over to them relatively for free. Meanwhile, over towards B, once again, Sabrosa playing the connector area. He's going to be trying to spot out Def, who's of course playing in towards the site. Sadly, no boost or no spraying through the plywood's going to be coming in just yet. But Surreal playing up close to toilets as per usual. Might be able to hear some of the rotates down through connector, as it looks like CLG are setting up for a B play.
Already making a lot of noise, in fact, around that sort of position. They are going to take over water. They've got themselves Monster as well if they want to push through it. But it should be fairly obvious to the CT side where this is coming, or it definitely will now. Again, Hazed. He may seem like he's down, but he still manages to find that first pick. This time it will only be 1, and it's the rest of the team that will barrel onto the site. Ethan going to grab the kill onto Android, leaving it in a 4 versus 3. Now you have to remember, Surreal has absolutely nothing to play with, so the rest of the players are going to have to be the one making the play, and they have no kit at the moment at least. There may be one on the floor, but that doesn't really help them too much at the moment. Ethan, he's been boosted up, and this spot is just wonderful. Not only for the fact that they can catch anybody out coming from the upper position, but he can just hold later on when they all barrel out the lower spot as well. So already, coOster, well, managing to trade actually a couple back, but will they expect Ethan? No, they will not. Actually misses his spray a little bit, but coOster's there to back him up. So a half win for CLG. And although a few rounds towards the beginning that seemed to be favoring Complexity, CLG have now taken this half by storm.
Yeah, no, I mean, in the later stages, definitely CLG look to be coming out on top. Complexity had a very strong start. Issue is, they've been quite reliant on the guys over towards that A site. I mean, B's fallen a lot to the push that Hazed has been doing, and he's just the lurk player. But every single time we see him find the dent in the armor on that B site, and you know, from that point on, CLG they just they exploit the hole that they've made. So now it's looking like we're going to be heading into the pistol round of the second half. Rollman advantage is going to be going the way of CLG, and into this round, Complexity, they sent all their players, bar 2, through the lower tunnels, up connector, to try and find some early aggression in towards toilets.
Yeah, not gathering any real info just yet, other than that there is footsteps around. connector position has been cleared by the T's, and in terms of the B side, they are going for a very passive hold in the form of the boost. Now, this is normally good for at least a frag, and, well, it may have to be good for at least a frag with the sort of rotation coming in. Now, you have to remember, Hayes does have a kit, so they're not too much of a problem here, and already they get themselves one, tapping away, so Broza gets himself a second, so already, before they can even spot him out, he's managed to get himself 2 kills. Now they're going to push back in, and already this is looking very problematic. Uber, he has to go absolutely huge here, and he's got so many players pushing his way. 8 just spamming away and completely missing every single shot. You have to remember, none of them were looking in his direction. He doesn't manage a single kill. And yes, silver lining bomb plant, but at the same time, CLG, they're going to be taking that pistol, starting off their CT side with a boost and only losing 1 player.
Yeah, a good start there to the second half of CLG to keep that lead up, as they do look to head into this round now on a fairly decent buy. They're giving a lot of respect away Complexity with that buy up. I mean, a lot of rifles in play. And I suppose that also lend itself nicely to the long angles on overpass, something which we do see a lot of teams do, but opting instead, you know, to not take any SMGs to try and build up the cash. They're just going for this, you know, pure safety buy. More Complexity stacking up outside of B. Ape as well rotating on through, looking like B is just going to be the all-out push, going to be trying to get that bomb plant. CLG in position to deal with this one nicely. Flash is going to be heading on out. Another push is underway. Hayes going to go for that spray down. Might be able to find a couple of frags here from him, but does very little damage overall. Finally picks up one. While in this site, it's going to be Ethan, gets tagged down low, but Sabrosa and Kusta chiming with some frags of their own, put it into a 1-on-5, and, well, it's all Hazed and Ethan, like you say, to mop that one up.
Yeah, they do get a bomb plant, though, so in terms of Complexity, that is going to be, like, they don't get any frags, granted, which would have been nice considering every single player had a rifle and would have been very costly. But in terms of just running in and getting a bomb plant, that's what, 4 grand split between them. That gives them all the utility they need, which is not something you normally get going into a 3rd round buy. So this is actually very, very good for their buy. Well, this is the best case scenario they could have. The only problem is the CT side sort of saw it coming in the last round, so they went for full rifles just in case there was a force up, and now they're all but ready for this push themselves with full utility. So we get a very early full buy on both teams. Of course, the pharmacists do limit them a little bit, but I don't think that should be anything that's too problematic for CLG. Either way, Complexity, this is a great opportunity for them now, and they need to take it with both hands, because if they lose this round, they don't have anywhere near this much cash going into the next.
Yeah, definitely so. And well, it's going to be on to Def, trying to open things up. Finds that first, going to find the second as well. A nice spray transfer to take down Sabrosa and Ethan on that B site. It's going to completely open it up and allow Complexity plenty of time to get in after plant positions as well. CLG at this point, wouldn't surprise me if they just go for a save. They're at a 2-man disadvantage. Complexity have had so much time to move in a position, and we can already see they're going to be falling back to Park. They just relinquish this round, give it the way of the T side, and they're going to be looking to hold on to these rifles. Yeah,
the last 3 players had absolutely no map control at all. It was the value of what they held at the later portion of the round was just significant to 0, because they were back out of the site, they were smoked out, there was nothing they could really do. And in terms of going into the next one, you have to remember they sort of just kept the second round very, very clean, so it's not too much of a problem of actually going into this one. Cutler is actually going to lose another rifle, so things becoming a little bit more costly. I do still expect a rebuy to come in, and with Hazed doing a little bit of extra damage, you do have to remember the Complexity. Yes, they've got that early round buy, but now they've got no loss bonus to play with anymore. This is all about winning rounds. They've got to continue this streak, otherwise the reset will be huge in terms of, well, the CT's coming back.
Yeah, no, that's a really sound point to be making. You've only seen the AWP up on the back of Hayes. They're trying to keep CLG's momentum going, and the rest of the team opting to buy up rifles, hopefully to try and once again, you know, keep the momentum up. But the real interesting buy here is the 5 rifles on the side of Complexity. Now, I don't know if that was economic constraints or not. I didn't really get too much time in to have a look. But yeah, okay, so well, no, they could have bought one up, so they're going to be opting for the 5 rifles instead, which is an interesting stance to take. What that means is it allows them to keep the momentum, keep that, you know, high speed, high aggression approach as they make their way into the different sites here. So I think this round we're going to be seeing a very, very fast, fluid play. Whether that relies on a fake heading on down through connector or just all-outing into one site, well, only time's going to tell. But for the time being, we've got 3 players making their way out mid. Android as well, going to be scouting out connector, does get the information for his team that it is going to be handed over to them relatively for free. And Uber, meanwhile, over towards B, playing that lurk role, just watching for any early aggression from CLG, and they're not going to give it to him.
Yeah, we have to look on to Hazed as well. It is interesting that he's the one picking up the AWP over Kusta. Now, whether or not that is just down to position, he's playing a much more passive style, and that could just work out, or for the fact that he wants to be able to rotate. Now, Def will jump up, take a little bit of a peek, not going to spot anything out as of yet. And in terms of the lurk play coming in from Uber, he's going to have to try and almost hold these players over towards the B site. Now, of course, very quick rotations available, but we're coming down to the 30-second mark, and no real headway has been gained in terms of actual damage or entry frags. There's still a Molotov as well onto coL, which could come into play later in the round, but they've gone for that rotation. They've risked it for a chocolate biscuit, and they've gone all the way back towards that B site. Now, in terms of the entry, Uber hasn't achieved anything, and Sub is just going to be waiting. The bomb is down. There's seconds left to spare, and things get cleaned up towards the end. CLG, well, time was on their side, but also they find all the frags.
Yeah, I mean, they completely shut down that push as it comes in. Def as well falling up towards the A site, less than ideal, because it means that that lurk roll, completely rendered obsolete. He's going to go down. He can't provide anything useful to his team. And then the remaining 3 guys who pushed him towards the B site, well, they're already at a huge disadvantage. There were 3 players on B, so even if they traded fairly into it, it would have been a very not interesting, it would have been a very favorable scenario for the side of CLG right from the get-go. So we're going to be heading now into round number 20. 8-11 is the scoreline currently, with CLG currently sporting a 3-round advantage over Complexity. Complexity are going to be on the back foot into this round with armor up on 2 of their players. Everyone else instead opting for the upgraded pistols, all with the exception of Ape, who's just got the Glock.
Yeah, I got the Glock train, the one-man train, running in to try and spam away 8 bullets to the chest, and you still might not get the kill. Either way, Hayes is going to get pushed. Kuster, has he gone again? I think he might have gone again. I don't know why he'd be looking at this wall. And yeah, there you go.
I think
big problem.
I think that's an actual strategy. So yeah, no, sadly Kuster's going to be dropping out once again. Let's see though if his team could try and put the nail in the coffin, as it were. Cutler on the site with the AWP in hand, trying to do some damage. He's going to get taken down by Uber with that deagle. It's going to be a 2-on-4, and well, it's all on Sub Rosa. He's going to get taken down from behind, and it's a shame to see, really, isn't it? Kuster, Kuster once again dropping on out.
Yeah, no, and at the worst possible moment. That is literally a play where now you've given Complexity sort of a round based off nothing that favor them, and I think that will probably carry over onto the second map as well. Of course, we are going back into this one, and the biggest problem that we've come across now is not only was that a round loss coming in, but that's actually going to put them back to pistols.
Yeah, but CLG, I'm never going to give you up as we head on into this one. It's 11-9 currently. And, well, like you say, I am still in Camp CLG a little bit here, but it's going to be Complexity with the buy. 4 rifles currently, and an AWP on the back of Surreal. A good bit of utility as well to use up into this anti-eco around Sabros. They're going to find the first with that deagle. Does manage to take down the fully bought player in the form of Def, but getting some revenge here as Uber makes his way out of the site. Does find 2 huge frags. Going to be able to find a 3rd as well. So 3 to his name currently. And, well, it's all going to fall on Cutler and Kuster for CLG to try and retake this site with a P250 and a noose.
Yep, Kuster will be taken down. They're doing a little bit of damage, at least in this round, to the T economy. Of course, they did gain quite a bit of economy themselves, because the last round was somewhat of an eco, or yeah, it was just a couple of pistols bought up, nothing else really. So they've had the gain. They'll have a little bit of a loss here, but they managed to do relatively well in terms of, well, Uber's got himself a little bit of a boost. They'll save the AWP, and you can look at the money currently on Android setting around the 8K mark. However, CLG, they're back on the buy. They've got the AWP, this time in the hands of Cutler and Kuster, so a complete change around from what we saw moments ago with Hazed on the AWP, so it has switched hands multiple times at the moment. Utilities, not too bad, although the T's definitely come out on top, and, well, clearly working that sort of pick-play standard at the moment. The aggressive push coming out from Kuster.
Yeah, Kuster's trying to find something early on as he makes his way down offshore, going to be peeking out in towards the tunnel over by Long.
That's a cool AWP name.
What was it?
Natural Causes.
Oh, okay. I guess, I mean, if that's what you're into. But Kuster going to be trying to spot out 8 frag here onto Uber as he's looking to make his way through Connect. The Def going to be the first one out, meanwhile, in towards the B site. Uber actually finds one of Sabrosa in the process, and Ethan not able to pick up even a single frag there. It's going to go 3-on-5, a 2-man advantage leading the way of Complexity. They make their way out of the site. The only advantage they have here is the positioning of Kuster coming in from behind. They're not going to expect it to be here just yet. It's going to allow him to get 1 frag out in a Surreal, looking for frag number 2. But it doesn't present itself just yet. And we'll look at this positioning from Uber coming in from behind. I don't think that Kuster's going to be ready for that. He's going to get taken down. And now it's Cutler and Hazed for the retake.
Yeah, the flank on the flanker. There's nothing you can do about that one. You can bamboozle as much as you like until you get bamboozled yourself. And now You look towards the remaining CTs, and I think they're making the right choice here, ducking out of the round. As said, both sites are relatively difficult to retake, and you do have to say, really going for this one would be a huge risk. Hazed will not even be able to hold on to his rifle. Now it is just coL. That one solitary AWP left to try and save it in this round. Will actually spot the feet of the players, but it's looking like he may get away with this one. And it looks like he's just about going to survive. So nice work there from coL, at least saving the AWP. Now, in terms of money, well, it's pistols behind it.
Yeah, I mean, that's all they've really been able to get. So, I mean, I'm looking at this, and they are going to buy a few upgraded pistols, so would be interesting to see if they decide to buy down, but they're not going to. I mean, I suppose the economy does not support it, and it'd be really unnecessarily risky at this point in time. You have to try and make some sort of play happen with coL on the AWP here. He's looking to try and peek mid early. I'm not going to find anyone as Complexity load all their eggs into one basket, make their way towards this B site. And while there are only 3 players here for the side of CLG to try and hold it down, the advantage leading the way Complexity here because they've got the firepower, they've got the man advantage, everything is going their way. Saying that, Sabros is going to find the first out on a death. Going to put it into a 4-on-4, but Ape finds one out onto Hayes. Ethan trying to frag back, does so. He's able to get that return frag, puts it into 3-on-3, and currently this is looking very good for CLG. They've done a lot of damage here on this eco. Cutler's still up with the AWP, going to heading up in towards Heaven now, and well, looking down into the site, might be able to spot out one frag potentially as they go for the peak. Surreal's going to be the first to fall. It's going to go 2-on-2. Kuster as well coming in from short. It's going to be in a great position to set up the crossfire. Sneaks in through the smoke. Bomb's going to get planted, but they're still in with a real shot, potentially taking this round back. coL does find one through the smoke and through the wall, and it's going to leave it in a 1-versus-1. coL versus Uber. Bomb's ticking away, and this is for the 1-round advantage. Going to swap out to the AK. Not going to be ready for it to be that close, and Uber does land the shot. So it's going to go 12-11 as Complexity. They just barely managed to secure a 12th round on the board.
Yeah, a close round, but a round nonetheless for the T side, of course. That was only 1 AWP plus pistols, so a great round coming out from CLG in terms of the amount of damage they were able to do. Of course, the T side economy is still looking pretty good after that sort of save round and continuing on from there. However, there's still an opportunity for CLG to come back into this one, and with plenty of utility. No AWP, sadly, but everything else seems to be on the board for the Americans.
Yeah, I mean, they've got a good bit of armor. Not a good bit of armor. What relevance with that? They've got a good bit of utility. God,
well, they do have a good bit of armor.
It's incredibly late.
But to be fair, you are correct.
Yeah, no, okay.
It was stating the obvious a little bit, but
yeah,
you are technically correct.
But yeah, so it's going to be a good bit of utility up on the side of CLG. Complexity as well have their own utility to try and meet the defense from CLG. Currently having the 1-round advantage. It's going to be Surreal to open things up. Finds one out on Akusta, and well, that's going to be a huge frag over here towards A, because now it leaves the whole hold on the back of coL.
Yeah, it leaves him quite isolated. A rotation will be quickly coming in at the moment from Hazed, and it means there's not too much of a problem in terms of the hold. The only real problem is whether or not the T's will be able to isolate that single man advantage. Of course, all they have to do from this standpoint is trade, and I make that sound like a much easier task than it actually is, but all you have to do from here on out, Complexity, is make sure that for every kill you lose, you take one straight back once again. Now, in terms of the B site, there has been a little bit of a rotation off it, leaving Ethan as the main man. They are coming back, and coming back fast. Now, the T's seemingly throwing out quite a lot of nades. They're going to leave this one very late in terms of their rotation, but Def has actually got so far out. It means that coL, well, yes, he's coming back in, but he's already lost the whole site. The bomb is going to be planted, and while Def, great play from him, just pushing up aggressively, making sure that nobody can get back into the site before the bomb is planted.
Yeah, and that's going to leave it at 3-versus-5. It's looking like CLG want to try and do something here. It all depends if they get a frag in the next couple of seconds, though, really. And sadly, it doesn't present itself. You can already see that Hazed is looking to be backing away, along with Ethan. Ethan's able to find one, but that's going to be it. Now they're trying to make their way out of here. Sabrosa as well, chiming in with 2 of his own. So this situation was actually somewhat doable once the aggression came in from Complexity. But, you know, with only 1 kit up on Hazed, he was the furthest away from the site. Does mean, of course, that they are going to have to forfeit this one. The way of Complexity, 13-11 now, as Complexity maintain a lead and take a 2-round advantage.
Yeah, I think all excuses are now off. They've lost a few rounds in a row. The T side have done the damage. Another player will actually drop, so only one surviving once again for the T's. But in terms of that, they are sort of going aggressive to try and remove these rifles off the CT hands. We know for a fact that they are sort of struggling. Nice little peek there from Surreal, checking the angle, making sure he knows exactly where his opposition is and doesn't give them an opportunity to take anything back. Of course, the 3 save rifles will give another buy for CLG, but they're getting sort of close to the mark now. They need to get themselves around on the board, and they need to get it soon.
Yeah, definitely. So CLG need to step back up to the plate, as currently, I mean, they've been very absent in these last couple of rounds. I do feel like ever since Kusta kind of dropped out earlier, it's been something that's been in the back of their minds, and they're now struggling to pick it back up. But we're going to be in round at 25, 13-11 currently, and it's incredibly close here as we are approaching the end of map number 1 tonight for the NA games. As well, Complexity looking to be heading out mid once again. They kind of go for this strategy quite a fair bit. They sent Uber in through the connector area. They also have a lurk player towards B, and then they try to grab mid control, this time in the form of Ape. Going to be peeking it with the AK. Of course, he's got to worry about Cutler and Kusta in towards the toilets over by Long.
Yeah, looking at the CT side at the moment, as you said, they do have a little bit of aggression coming out towards toilets, but the rest of them playing relatively passively, and it does leave them quite open for a short push. And in terms of where the bomb is positioned, it does show that there's a likelihood that B will be the actual play. Now, 2 players are ready and waiting. Subrosa has to get at least 1, and well, he's going to think that there's a flash coming. In fact, it's going to be a bare peek coming out, and Android will find the first. Luckily, Ethan is stepping up, will manage 2 and give an opportunity for the CT side to have a chance in this round. 30 seconds left as the bomb goes down. Well, Molotov will bounce out, but not actually stop the plant in any way, shape, or form. Aggressive push actually coming out from Uber. He's going to go very aggressive and drop further down, finds the headshot. 2 more players pushing from that very avenue, and well, Uber, he's primed and ready to make this difficult.
Yeah, Hayes able to find 1 as he makes his way on into the site. Kusta's going to fall, and Surreal and Ape going to be the last 2 left for Complexity. Hayes, though, keeps the aggression going, keeps on pushing up. Doesn't actually manage to spot out Surreal on the other side of the fires and flames. Now Hayes is going to be trying to land this shot. Does switch out to the use, goes for it. Can't quite manage to connect. Going to switch to the knife. Oh, and he gets it. There you go, Hayes. He might not have won the round, but he's, you know, it's a moral victory at least. He is going to go down at the end, though. Ape does find him as he tries to save the AWP. So it's going to go 14-11. Complexity 1 round away from match point.
Yeah, a knife that comes off the back of a lot of missed shots from both players, but it will give them a little bit of a boost and could actually have an avenue to drop an AWP. So, in fact, that knife kill does become much more valuable than expected because the AWP will now go into the hands of Cutler. It has dropped around for a few different players so far, and I don't think the AWP has been anywhere near as influential as I thought it would be. I was really hoping to see something big coming out from Kusta, but he hasn't picked it. I think he's picked it up once, and that was as a dual AWPer, and well, it hasn't really paid anything back so far. Surreal has definitely been the better of the 2 in this second half. I don't think there's any doubt about that. In terms of the T's, once again, hanging out in the playground, playing things nice and slow to start things off.
Yeah, Def going to be the player to try and start things off as he makes his way up through Park. Can't spot anyone out just yet, but he's going to be reinforced, of course, by Surreal with the AWP to try and make things work on these long angles. Abe going to be picking up the bomb. He's just been the designated bomb carrier for the team, so, you know, everyone has their part. It's 14-11 currently, and Complexity, like we say, 1 round away from taking this to match point. Once again, Uber and Android lurking in towards that B site, trying to find some aggression early on from CLG, and CLG, as per usual, not going to be giving it to them. Surreal with the AWP in mid, trying to line something up. It's going to be Cutler to spot out Def, but he is going to get taken down, does miss that shot, and Def lands the headshot and then follows it up with a body shot through the wall. That's why the aim punch came in, and that ultimately led to the death of Cutler.
So Rosa spraying away, actually hits the dink, and well, a little bit of a poor timing to find that headshot. Doesn't manage to finish off the kill. Hayes with a lot to do, and while uncharacteristically missing his spray quite catastrophically, in fact, as Android's able to capitalize. Left with the Glock in hand, I would say maybe reloading the rifle would be the better play here, and as he'll get punished by Ethan in the meantime. And while look at the rotation, Complexity once again, they're left with 10 seconds left, but they still get the bomb plant down, and they have the site to themselves. They can push in through some aggressive points, hold angles, which realistically the CT side probably won't expect to peak. And well, never mind, Ethan's still going to find 1, actually a 2v2.
Yeah, finding that 1 frag out of Def is going to make this a lot more doable. They try to push into the site. Abe's doing some good damage out onto Ethan does find that frag. Now it's all on Kusta. He does have an AWP in hand to try and play around with, but he's fast running out of time, and with no kit, it's looking like another save round, but he can't even get away with that. Ape Nation's going to find him, and it's going to go 15-11. Complexity reach match point.
Yeah, they've just strung a load of rounds together off the back. And well, now you sort of look towards this position and say, hey, one more round and they have taken this map. They've got themselves the W, they've got themselves the 3 points, and that's what the important thing is when it comes down to it. We spoke that this could be a Kickstarter for any of the teams to get themselves back towards the board. Well, CLG, they may be about to lose this first map, and then, well, is there really too much value even in the draw? They want to be getting that win, they want to be getting both. That's what they were expected to do. Either way, an aggressive push towards the B side. Quite a few players there to defend, and while Hayes is going to be supported by Ethan, this is actually probably the worst place that the T's could have pushed. So if they make this work, then really we have to question what's going on for CLG. Either way, so far so good for the CT side. They're managing to clean things up with so many supportive positions. Nice little boost comes in. It's actually Hayes to grab another, and this leaves just Ape to try and fight things back. He's actually managed to get around the back, but eventually gets spotted, and well, the aggression that comes out from CLG works wonderfully because they go aggressive and then the monster push comes in and they have the flank already and waiting to take them all down.
Yeah, so they managed to delay any sort of defeat another day, and well, it's looking quite good now in some respect. They can get a reasonably decent buy up into this round. They have a nice bit of utility to try and play around with. And complexity, well, their economy's not looking too good because in all the rounds previously, they haven't really been surviving with that many players. So if they lose this, then it will go to a 13-15 scoreline. It should be on the back foot on an eco. So it should allow CLG to take it to 14-15, but it does all come down to this. And while they start things off, they're going to be sending 4 players out in towards mid. Android actually now making his way through connector, and as per usual, Uber, your local friendly neighborhood lurker.
Yeah, he's going to be waiting around to try and find any aggression that goes towards Monster. Of course, we haven't seen too much of that at all, mainly because of the high risk that comes with it. It's normally the water push that actually comes in from the CT side. Surreal. As the AWP, again, it seems to be coL playing it at the moment on the CT side of this map. The T side was given over to coStar, and well, coL not quite going to be given the opportunity. coStar this time is ready and waiting in toilets, and hopefully won't be standing still anytime soon. Still looking like they could go towards the site, but in the meantime, there goes coL. The AWP pick will come in. coStar's able to trade one back, so not too much of a problem. Hayes going aggressive, gets himself one more, and now this is looking a little bit better for the CT side. Still in very aggressive positions, and Hayes, oh, is he going to get around the corner? No, he's not. Def ready and waiting to bring it back to a 3v3.
Yeah, and as the numbers get equalized, coStar is going to be in a very bad position here. He's stuck up towards long. If Def finds this frag, this is going to open up the A site. coStar's going to go down. And well, now it's all on Ethan to try and hold down the fort. Sub Rosa, meanwhile, going to be potentially rotating here over towards that A site. But the Complexity boys actually making their way in towards B. So it's a really bad read here from CLG. And Ethan, he's all the way up on that A site now, has to rotate back down. Sub Rosa's going to get tagged down 4 HP in the fire. Ooh, that was incredibly close. I feel like there's a sequence of a letter and a number. That almost was. But regardless, 4 HP on Sub Rosa, tries to make his way on through. Just going to run into the fire, so he's going to go down.
Oh, God.
I feel like there's a popular streamer that people normally mention at this point. But anyway, now it's all on Ethan. 1 versus 3. I want to pick up 1 frag, looking for the second, but Uber is there ready and waiting, and that's going to allow Complexity to pick up this first map, 16-12.
Yeah, he's going to leave this world and go beyond the summit, as you could say. And while he's burnt to the depths, it is going to be done and dusted now. And, well, quite a sort of surprising factor, really. A Complexity getting away with one there. They managed to close things out in the end, and they've got the W. They've got themselves those 3 points, so an important factor for them, to say the least.